all the safeties that they believe to be necessary while completing the game as quickly as possible. So we will immediately get a Link's House start with both runners picking up the 50 rupees in Link's House chest.
Yep, and this is actually one of the parts where things are interesting because it's fairly common, it's fairly obvious you're going to have to route in the stuff that you need to actually beat the game, but the early routing of rupees and bombs that are required can be really interesting and convoluted sometimes, so we'll see how our runners do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already got a little bit of divergence. We've got oneup heading straight to Eastern, and zerorush instead choosing to go to the dam first, pick up the Cane of Samaria out of the dam chest. A useful early weapon, although we currently don't have any magic with which to use it with.
I mean, can't you still, like, just whack an enemy across the head with it? Isn't that a thing?
I wish. And zerorush will also be picking up the heart container outside of the dam. The heart containers of the seed are usually some of the first safeties that you look for, just because you don't want to be running around with 3 hearts the whole time.
Well, that's interesting. Grab by oneup. Went out of his way there to grab the mushroom. That can be used for fake powder if needed, but given the fact that he went and grabbed it really early, I'm going to go ahead and assume that it is something that's going to be required in our witch's hut today.
That'd be a crazy play in a spoiler seed to get a fake powder using Samaria and mushroom to replace the real powder if it's in a nasty location. And oneup will also be picking up a sword out of Eastern as well.
Which, that's both nice and not nice. It is a really early sphere check on one end, but on the other end, you don't really want to be dipping Eastern without a sword. So this is, they're thankful that this is a spoiler log tournament where, you know, they know where that sword is.
Yeah, and oneup is still continuing further into Eastern Palace. But he's just going to grab this chest for the bombs inside and then leave. Zerorush, on the other hand, is going to get his first sword from the maze race instead.
Yep, so we have some early divergence, and this is actually one of the really fun parts of the spoiler log races that I've noticed when I'm commentating and watching them, because you would think with 15 minutes, you know, the runners would be able to set up a fairly standard route that would be common, but the one thing I've noticed is that 15 minutes isn't really enough time to come up with a definitive best route, so a lot of times you'll see the runners just go in completely different directions for a good 20-30 minutes, which is actually a blast, because then you have no idea who's winning, right up until they come together towards the end, and that's what I find fun, so...
Yeah, so now oneup is covering zerorush's tracks, picking up the cane now, and also going to be grabbing that heart container outside.
And most of that cave being vanilla for zerorush there, with a couple of big 20s.
And oneup now going to do what Zors do best, going to go for a swim without some flippers. Going to use the fake flippers glitch at the transition of the screen, going to be able to bypass the check of the game to see whether you do in fact have the flippers or not. And thereby will be able to make his way up to the witch's hut where he can turn in the mushroom.
That's a really early mushroom check, and that is fairly out of the way, even with the fake flipper glitch, so there must be something good here.
You know, that's pretty good.
And we get to go fast on one end there. Zerorush, meanwhile, grabbing the mirror and the moon pearl. Oh, and there's the flippers.
Yep, so we got 3 items in Kakariko. Going to, and looks like oneup is also going to head there as well to pick up those items as, using the boots, which will give him a very slight speed advantage, being able to run around the long, open fields of Kakariko.
Yep. Meanwhile, Zero Rush is making a quick detour over to Eastern to get his lovely, lovely mushroom. He will likely forego that chest with bombs, though, which means he'll save a little time there, unless he decides to just go get the big key. Which I'm pretty sure it's in his vanilla location, which is always wonderful.
Yeah, at this point, Big Key has to be vanilla, and there isn't really a point in going to get it, considering that we will have to come back later. As you can see from the tracker, we already have marked all of the crystals and pendants, and so we can see that Eastern is a crystal, and therefore we will need to come back later with the bow. And OneUp is going for the chicken hut, which is something that Zero Rush opted to skip. So what is in here? Just some money.
So it seems like he is electing to probably skip the well instead and just do the chicken hut there to get his 100 rupees for his bottle vendor.
Oh, we already got the bottle vendor.
Never mind, then grabbing 100 rupees for our lovely monkey extortionist and some bombs then.
Yep, and like we predicted, Zero Rush is out of Eastern without those bombs. No need to get them. But OneUp has the boots here, and we'll be able to check the library and get the item, which is the lamp.
So no dark rooms on that side, at least. Looks like Zero Rush is going to make a beeline over to turn in his mushroom and grab his speed shoes.
Yeah, and I would like to just point out that we now have 2 swords and a lamp, and you know what that means.
Well, seeing as we've cleared a lot of what we have access to right now, and we don't have anything else that would help us with Dark World, I fear that your superstition might be correct.
Oh yes, Twitch chat. We have an Agaseed on our hands.
Yep, OneUp looking to be headed that way after a quick pit stop over here.
Zero Rush is opting now to go grab the lamp. Having to make 2 trips to Kakariko does cost him a little bit of time compared to OneUp. And OneUp is going to get the fairy bottle in the Uncle Passage, which is a very nice safety. Not only does it provide safety for just the fairy itself, but it also provides the use of the bottle, so you can buy potions.
Yep, and that is something that we may see later, depending on how many rupees they can easily get their hands on.
And so now Zero Rush is equipped with all the same gear that OneUp has, barring the fairy bottle, and will be heading up to Agahnim as well.
Yep, for those of you who watched the first race, you'll notice that Zero Rush has more hearts now than he did for the first about 35 minutes of that first race, so it looks like he is foregoing his very, very low percent strategy that he was using for game 1.
Did he really only have 3 or 4 hearts for half an hour? That's scary.
I believe that he had 4 hearts up until about 35 minutes. I might be incorrect on that, but it was 4 hearts for a good while, and he took a couple of deaths there. Sorry, spoilers, guys, because we're in a spoiler log tournament after all. He took a couple deaths and then decided that the several hearts that were just kind of in Kakariko, he was going to go grab. So.
Although he does still seem to be having some of that strategy remaining, since he did not opt to pick up the fairy bottle. like oneup did, which is a minor safety true, but could be useful.
That's a fair point. We'll see how it works out. Hopefully it won't come to a point where he wishes he would have picked that up, as I always root for more rando. So for this race at the very least, I want Zero Rush to win, because I want to commentate race 3, which will be coming up right after this, if needed.
Yeah, so it is a back-to-back. If Zero Rush can bring this to a game 3, then we will have a back-to-back race. Very exciting. And we are still fairly close, coming up to the top of Aghanim's tower.
So
Maybe
chat,
only a...
make your guesses. 0 to 15 on the amount of times that our lovely wizard friend is going to attempt to delay his own demise. As that's something that the spoiler log does not include, our runners have no idea either, so it'll be a surprise to everyone.
On the other hand, the Agahnim fight is basically just auto-scrollers outside of swordless. So, not really anything we can do to change the pattern here. So we've already got, I think that's 1 already.
Yep.
Zero Rush will be getting the exact same RNG pattern. So we can check with his screen.
Ah, so it was 2 that first go around, and 1UP is showing us at least 3rd, so a little bit trolly, but it doesn't seem to be terrible yet.
There's a 4th.
Sorry, guys.
4-cycle Agahnim, bleh.
Well, of course, a forced, 12-minute Agahnim fight. You didn't think he was going to be nice, did you?
Alright, at least it's 3 cycles, 4 blue balls. That's tolerable. Subpar RNG, but not 7 blue balls. And we are now in the Dark World.
At least we have boots.
And 1UP is heading in a strange and rarely seen direction, going down to the Dark Lake. And of course, there's only one item over here, really, to be acquired, which is Hylia Island. And that item is the hookshot. Just this is ugly logic. Have to beat Agahnim to get the hookshot. Just ugh.
Yeah, you don't even have access to the other side of the Dark World until after you've grabbed the hookshot that's sitting in the Dark World. It's terrible. The whole thing is terrible. That was a really, really good use of a portal there, actually.
Yeah, that one rarely comes up in item randomizer. It does come up significantly more often in entrance randomizer, so that may be where he is familiar with it from. Whereas Zero Rush is going to opt to take the more traditional route of going back up and around, which is probably what I would have done in this case. The portal is a very good time save right there.
It is. It looks like 1UP kind of missed an item check over here, decided to go back and grab it. So we got something in King's Tomb.
And Zero Rush has realized that he will in fact have to swim. We don't have gloves yet, or the hammer.
We do have a tempered sword on 1UP's side, though, so that's at least not terrible.
Yeah, tempered is very nice to have. Always want tempered.
Especially since they will at least have tempered for... they will at minimum have a tempered sword for all the bosses, so that'll be nice. Yep, Zero Rush electing to grab the same sword up here, while oneup appears to be headed towards the woods with no fire rod.
Yeah, no fire rod, can't complete it. And since this is a crystal, we are going to have to come back later. Once again, another dungeon to redip.
Hey, don't spoil that. The fire rod might be in here somewhere. You never know. I mean, you do know, but
Okay, but strictly speaking, you always have to redip Skullwoods because you have to go through the middle section to get to the boss, right?
that's a fair point. Unless you just get to go mode it and head straight to our favorite bug friend. Zero
And
Rush probably wanting to be careful here with half a heart.
I mean, he'll be okay. He got another one right here.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff here that does more than a heart and a half of damage, so I would still urge caution.
One up in Skullwoods is going to grab the magic powder and a glove upgrade. So he will have both of those available to him. The powder is a very nice safety, especially in the late game, because at that point, usually powdering an anti-fairy will heal you almost to full. They'll heal up 7 hearts, and since we usually only get 9 to 10 hearts in a spoiler speed race anyway. But hey, there's the other glove.
Yeah, that's right, guys. Both gloves were in the Dark World, so you couldn't even pretend to have Dark World access without Agahnim. And we still haven't found the hammer, so, you know, this is going to be just a fun seed.
But even after grabbing those gloves, Zero Rush is not done with Thieves Town.
Well, you can complete it, so there's really no reason not to, other than the fact that it's a pendant.
I mean, I'm sure if it was just some safety in here that Zero Rush would absolutely not be bothering to continue. So, probably some progression item lying in the back of Thieves Town. Pendant Thieves Town, of course. Why would a Crystal Thieves Town ever have progression?
It does look like he gets to skip the entire upstairs, which is nice. Although he's going to have to go all the way down to the dungeon. And given that he doesn't have the hammer right now, the only check he can make is the maiden cell.
Yeah, since he isn't blowing up the top, that would just mean that we don't have to beat the boss. Or get the item off the boss, I suppose.
Yep, so spoiler for you guys who are hoping for a ped seed. Oh, there's the bow. That's nice. So 3 good items out of Thieves Town, at least 2 that were required, and 1 that at the very least is a good safety, and might be required. We'll see.
And now Zero Rush is going to be heading up to Skullwoods, while One-Up follows his tracks in Thieves Town.
Yep, each going to go get their other glove primarily.
And then once we're done with this, we will have the mitts available to us, which will open up a bunch more opportunities. One-Up accidentally picking up the maiden there, going to just leave Thieves Town and leave her in there. I'm sure she'll be fine.
Ooh, that's a nice 100 rupee drop there for 1-up in the chess game. As you know, that's not the official item that we get from the chess game. So it was just really good luck on his side. Alright, so there's not really a whole lot up here other than catfish. So that's fun.
And also the the flipper checks for Zora.
That is fair. Once he goes to mirror, that is an option as well. And it would appear that Zerorush is following right behind him. Oh, that's terrible. The flute? So, that grab of flute is interesting, since it's not technically required for anything other than mire and the mire area.
Also, I would just like to point out that Zerorush got the quick catfish, which means that he got to trigger the catfish about 10 frames earlier than usual. Very minor time save, but he is also not very far behind, so a bunch of minor time saves could mean a lead for him.
Yeah, this race does seem to be getting closer as we go on, so that'll be fun. But they're following a fairly linear path at the moment. Gonna go unstuck the duck.
So will we get a double flute activation at the same time?
Oh, maybe not. I was gonna say that we were, but then he looks like he's headed to the Dark World instead.
Oh, looks like oneup mismenued, put in flute 7 when he really meant to go to flute 6.
All rise for the playing of the Hyrulean National Anthem. And Meyer deciding that it's going to leave the key right on the doorstep, which is also the key for Turtle Rock. So keep that in the back of your heads.
And oneup going for the bug catching net down on Desert Ledge. That's all he's going to be doing, though.
And we are about to dip the second pendant of the game. That's fun. 2 pendant dips and no crystals completed yet. I love this scene.
And Zerorush is going for the magic bat, actually. Silvers are definitely worth that time investment, I think, because they save at least 50 seconds, I believe, on Ganon. Anywhere from 40 to 50, depending on how good your execution is on Phase 4. Plus, they also save extra time in additional parts of the game.
Yeah, silvers are going to, at the very least, make Armos and Ganon faster, not to mention Landmo. So, definitely worth that time, especially because he did decide to pair it with the flute activation, making it a little easier so it's not a separate trip. And grabbing the Arrow of Destiny, so that's definitely a good thing on Zerorush's side.
And so we have both runners heading into Swamp now. Sorry, Mire. For that Fire Rod.
Given that it's here, would you call it the Mire Rod?
No. You can call it the Mire Rod.
I might just do that.
But oneup is not done with Misery Mire yet, going to keep going through the dungeon. He is picking up that big key. So what does that mean? Either big chest, Vitreous kill. This is the green pendant.
Oh, that's a good point. If it ends up being a Vitreous kill, then Zero Rush is going to be real happy he grabbed those silvers. He's going to have a heck of an easier time at it, especially on green mail.
In addition, oneup actually has 0 arrows, hasn't gotten to pick up any arrow drops so far, and he's foregoing those 5 arrows right there while heading towards Vitreous. I'm gotta say, I'm honestly a little bit worried about how oneup is going to even be able to deal with Vitreous at all. Not many hearts to be able to do the NMSG strats, no arrows to speak of at all.
Yeah, the Tempered Sword does make it slightly less terrifying, but not by a whole lot, especially because he's sitting at 3 hearts, though he should be able to powder an anti-fairy there. That was a very, very nice spooky.
Yeah, plus he's got, that one was a little bit low, and that one was a little bit high. Almost there. Oh, he's out of magic. Gonna have to bomb open the wall instead.
I'm pretty sure that amount of magic will give him 1 use of the powder, though, so that's
even
nice.
Even if he doesn't, he can use fake powder with the Cane of Samaria in order to get a fairy out of it.
That is a good point.
Or he could just pick up that magic right there. Alright, and oneup is coming into Vitreous now. Got Tempered Spins and a fairy bottle.
That fairy bottle does make this fight a lot less terrifying for him, although Zero Rush not having the fairy bottle. Also not being able to pull off spooky, it looks like.
Yeah, not having the bow though for the second phase of Vitreous is really rough. Gonna have to slash him against the wall many times as opposed to just what Zero Rush is going to do, fire 2 silver arrows straight into the eye. Will finish him off very quickly.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some time save there.
So yeah, we just picked up the green pendant for a long time investment. Which can only mean one thing, of course, since both runners are going for it. This is a astronomically out of the way location. Means that we have to have progression on Sahasrara.
It also means this would be an utterly terrible seed blind. Alright, oneup deciding he doesn't need a darn thing in Desert other than that pretty little crystal that Landmo will drop.
Yeah, all we need left for go mode actually is that hammer. Once we have that, because we know the medallions, we will be in go mode.
Which kinda gives away what Sahasrara is probably going to give us.
You mean he's going to give us the shovel, right? So we can go dig up the hammer.
I mean, yeah, but to be fair, it's all the same point. If he gives us something that we need for the hammer, be it the shovel or the Book of Medora or anything of that nature, he's still essentially giving us the hammer.
And oneup with a very nice one-cycle Land Mollusk. Going to be able to use the Tempered Sword spin, plus 5 Fire Rod shots to defeat the Sandworm.
Yep, very quick battle for him, and his first crystal almost 30 minutes in, which is terrible for a spoiler log seed.
And Zero Rush's fight is going to look a little bit different since he has those silver arrows. We'll get some time save off of 1UP in that case, not having to use the Fire Rod. In addition, that will also save him time on the refill animation, since he won't have to refill his magic. So Zero Rush is slowly gaining time back through execution, and through the choice of picking up those silver arrows.
That's a good point. 1UP is looking to pair his pod routing along with grabbing whatever Sahasrara has. Hint, hint.
Yeah, and you mentioned this like a long time ago when 1UP first picked up those rupees in Chicken Hut, that they were for a particular monkey, and Zero Rush looks to be picking up those rupees for that purpose. Not having enough money to go to pod right now, going to have to grab that money in order to be able to pay the entry fee.
Yep, he does look like he's going to take a further detour over here and take out our favorite bug while he's in the area.
So, as was predicted, Hammer is on Sahasrara. We are now in Go mode. Zero Rush will be picking up his hammer eventually when he goes over to the pod area. And at this point, it's just a matter of going through the remaining dungeons.
Yep, so for those of you who are keeping track, it was 2 required double dips and a completion required of Mire to get the hammer on Sahasrara, in addition to being an Agahnim. So yeah, that was fun for various and sundry values of fun.
We had to double dip Eastern Palace, Skullwoods, and Thieves Town. Although we will not be finishing Thieves Town.
Yeah, that's fair. It is an extra dip, even though it's not technically completed, or going to be completed.
True. Plus it was also deep dip Thieves, instead of just front 4.
Well, of course it was, and that was an absolute deletion of the bug. Zero Rush showing off some amazing programming skills.
I don't know what to say to that.
If it makes you feel any better, no one does, so don't worry. Just smile and nod, or tell me that I should be fired for my awful sense of humor. That works too.
No, we need someone around to make bad jokes. Very important.
You only say that because it's your first com with me. Give you another, like, 4 or 5, like poor Reg and Mercer have, and then you'll be like, okay, someone just shut this man up.
I mean, I could always talk to you about quick warps if you really want to know about that.
I find quick warps very fascinating, and I know that sometimes they're kind of a gimme, like the one by Catfish. And I believe the one up on Death Mountain, if you go through the right side of that portal, if I remember correctly. But I don't know a whole lot about them.
Well, I'll talk about quick warps when we get to Swamp Palace, since that's where we get 3 quick warps relatively in quick succession. But for now, Zero Rush is going up to Palace of Darkness with only 100 rupees. Hopefully there is money in Sahasrara's hut that he can pick up.
Yeah, OneUp showed us the inferiority of the sword beams in the turtle room there, as he couldn't just murder the turtles with a single swing. He had to worry about, the sword beams overriding that damage and having to hit them multiple times.
And yep, there is a 20 rupee for Zero Rush. Going to be able to barely make the Kiki tax requirements.
I think that might be something to ask him when we do get them into an interview, either after this game or after the next one, if that was kind of an intended thing, or if he just went, oh, I really hope there's rupees here. because he did grab the arrows first. He didn't need those, so I wonder if it was just wishful thinking on his part, or remembering that he saw rupees somewhere in the Sahasrarla's hut.
Yep. So now it looks like 1UP is ahead by an entire dungeon, but really, Zero Rush already has Skullwoods completed. So 1UP will have to do that before he goes to, I guess, Swamp or Ice Palace.
Yeah, it's kind of an out-of-the-way flute location for him now, as there's nothing else in the area that he's going to need or pick up unless he decides to get the silver arrows late, which I doubt that'll happen since he already passed up one opportunity to get them.
Yeah, the best opportunity to get silver arrows was absolutely after Thieves Town, when you had Mire and Mitz, and it's right there. You can just go grab them, and then they save a lot of time on Vitreous, so it's the best time to get them. So now I don't think 1UP will go for the silvers after this.
Yeah, so that'll be something to keep in the back of your head as the runners get farther along with their boss murdering. Is that Zero Rush is going to have a quicker time of beating Ganon with those silvers than 1UP will, unless of course 1UP goes out of his way to grab them. Alright, we are likely to have at least nearly synced boss fights here, as both of our runners are just a couple of rooms away from their respective bosses. Same location, different dimension, I suppose.
Zero Rush's turtle room going a lot cleaner than 1UP's, being able to take out the turtles using the hammer instead of the tempered sword and having the beams get in the way. So that is another couple of seconds saved for Zero Rush. Slowly been gaining a little bit of time every time he has marginally better execution, and so that time adds up over the course of the race. Right now their times are not really comparable because Zero Rush has an entire extra dungeon done that 1UP doesn't. But once they have completed all of the same dungeons, we will be able to see how much time that has saved him.
Yeah, definitely. The earliest case that could be is right after Skullwoods for 1UP, should he choose to go do that next. Because then we'll have Zero Rush almost definitely going into Eastern Palace. There'd be absolutely no reason for him not to. And then 1UP going to complete Skullwoods, and then that would put them back on an even footing.
And he does flute to 3, so it is looking like Skullwoods to me.
It's also looking like he's going to go get those silvers.
Yeah, even at this stage, silvers will still save time on Ganon and in Ganon's tower. Their power has been significantly reduced since we will not be fighting most of the bosses. Actually, only one remaining boss, aside from Ganon himself, will be vulnerable to the silver arrows, and that's Argus. And so we've already gotten through Armos and Helmasaur and Vitreous, and all of those are the ones where silver arrows really save time. So the earlier silvers play for Zero Rush was much more beneficial. He got to save a lot more time out of those.
Yeah, very much so. I think that it may have been a situation where 1UP decided that grabbing the silvers early wasn't worth the northward check to the trek to the Dark World, and then doing the extra double set of mirror teleports. Although I'm not certain.
I mean, seeing as how his Vitreous fight went basically perfectly even without the silvers, that's certainly a reasonable decision to make. Hey, yeah. I said Ganon's tower in general. I didn't say anything about the location of any potential big key. And you can't argue that silvers don't save time in Ganon's tower because Lanmolas exists.
Yeah, Lanmolas, I mean, the mimics are at least slightly faster because you only have to put 1 silver into each of them. So just, yeah, Ganon's tower in general. I think you guys are trying to read a little too much into it. Although, honestly, if you're playing the odds, there's only a 3 in 22 chance that Ice Armos would be required anyways, since our runners do know where the big key is. They're not going to be going after Ice Armos unless they have to. So the odds are in your favor in approximately, what is that? 80, somewhere between 80 and 85% chance that you're going to be correct there, so, you know. And Zero Rush showing why you don't have silvers for Armos.
So now we can clearly see that Zero Rush has a significant time advantage now that oneup has well, he's okay, he's got a fairy, but Zero Rush still has a significant lead. The fairy animation does take a decent amount of time, so even though it is okay, he still did lose some time to that.
I'm not sure that I'd call it significant at this point. It is about maybe 20 to 30 seconds, but it's not a huge lead.
For a race that's now decided only by execution, and the fact that Zero Rush has been observed to have consistently slightly better execution the entire race, I would say that this lead is only going to get wider.
That is fair, but if you consider that Zero Rush is still sitting on 6 hearts and green mail, and based upon how he did in slightly worse condition for the last race, he isn't immune to making mistakes. I'll say it that way. That's how oneup won the first of their set of 3.
Yeah, definitely not an insurmountable lead. Oneup could very definitely take this back, but as you were saying before, you do want Zero Rush to win so you can get a game 3.
Well, of course, I'm fairly certain that you're always supposed to root for more rando. I mean, I might be wrong, but I can't think of a situation where that's not going to be the case. Especially as this is like a special kind of rando. This isn't even a regular rando or one of the more common modes. This is spoiler log rando. So it's like a special flavor of rando that we get to see. Always root for more of it. I mean, to be fair, to, have a little conversation with chat here, rooting for more rando is always nice because rando seeds in general are fun. Rooting for 15 blue balls Aga is just boring for everyone because we all sit here and watch him just delay and delay and delay. And especially since there's nothing that you could possibly get in Ganon's tower unless you're playing some form of key sanity. The whole tower is just watching our admittedly very good runners just tear through execution-based play. So while fun, it gets boring, and then you get to the top, and then Agahnim takes 5 minutes because he decides to give you 15 blue balls. Yeah, no, I'm not rooting for that ever. That's terrible. And as you can see from both of our runners, there is absolutely nothing here in Swamp Palace that they find to be worth their time, skipping everything, heading straight back to our favorite eyeball pirate.
Alright, Zero Rush will be going for the quick kill for about 1 second, and then we'll have to abort the quick kill because of not getting the poke dash, it looks like.
Yeah, seems to be having a little difficulty with that, although I'm not quite sure how he managed to hook shot through the one puffball to grab another one. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Did the hook shot frame rule it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna blame frame rules. But hey, there's a heart container. Always nice to have, bringing us up to a total of 7 hearts.
Yeah, which Ganon will still demolish on green mail, so, you know. Yeah, to answer your question, Shimjiao, the one in particular that I remember was there was a fire rod on Ped for 1 seed. I believe there was another one that was a fetch quest related that was required, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh yeah, Espeon, you missed your quick warp talk. Why don't you divulge some information on the rest of us there?
Oh, that's fine, because Zero Rush just did another quick warp right there. So a quick warp is what happens when you mirror on one of 2 specific X tiles, so horizontal pixels per tile of the game. And every time you do a quick warp, it cuts a little bit off the end of the mirror animation and saves 34 frames every time you do it, so it's half a second. And so Zero Rush has gotten most of the quick warps he's gone for, which has saved him several seconds compared to oneup not doing as many of the quick warps.
So is this a situation where all of the rest of the warps are made equal except for the quick warps, or is it on some sort of sliding scale?
Yeah, all warps are equal except for quick warps. For example, you can see oneup entering the Ice Palace portal from the right side, which doesn't give you a quick warp, but if you remember, Zero Rush entered from the left side, and that does give you a quick warp because of the pixel alignment. And so literally just by walking a little bit further, walking to the left instead of to the right, Zero Rush saves half a second.
And then you said that was something that was taking place for Swamp as well, so I presume that where you put your portal and how you walk into it from the Swamp entrance also is another quick warp location.
Yep. So there are because you go through the mirror portal 3 times for Swamp Palace. Because you have to mirror to Light World in order to drain the dam at all. So that's actually 3 quick warp opportunities.
Oof, oneup having a troll bomb there.
Yeah, getting trapped on the other side of that barrier is no fun.
I'm kind of surprised that he just didn't toss a bomb over the extended red blocks and put it in the corner so that it blew it up from that end. It would have been a little quicker.
So here's Cold Stare. I assume Zero Rush will be going for the quick kills. So you do a spin to line them up together, poke dash, double spin, slash, and they all go down.
Yeah, very quick way to give yourself some cotton candy.
So thanks to helpful players in chat, we've got a time counter on what's going on, and so the estimation is that Zero Rush is about a minute ahead, which is widened a little bit actually from the previous estimated lead.
Yeah, it does seem like his execution is very much cleaner than I saw it the other day, and then oneup says, oof, missing the
Oops.
Waffle House drive-thru though. That's what I get for opening my mouth, man. I'm just gonna stay quiet about, execution and other things because it happens every time. I open my mouth and say something and they prove me wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. That screen sucks. Props to Zero Rush for even attempting to go the full spin speed. I don't even try to do that in like NMG runs. I just jump down the ledge.
Yeah, it's not worth it. When you're going that fast, it's really, really hard to stop without jumping south off the ledge there.
Alright, and we've got one up in here going for the cold stare kill. I'm going to not quite get the perfect slash. He is at 1 heart against cold stare, which is scary. Is going to be able to take down the puffballs, not get hit by the falling ice after the fight has ended, and obtain the 6th crystal.
So, Espeon, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was anything at all that was required on Death Mountain today.
Nope, this is the first time we've been here.
I think that's the first time I've seen that, at least in this tournament, where you literally don't need anything up here at all other than murdering Hera. And with the big key right there, we won't even get a coffee break.
It is not faster to go up through Super Bunny Cave. Actually, if you have if the TR portal is not open, it is about 1 second faster to use the TR portal. If the TR portal is open, it's about 5 seconds faster to use it. So you never want to go through Super Bunny Cave, it's really slow.
Interesting. That's something that I saw in the last big tournament a lot of runners do, and because they do this on a much more competitive basis than I ever do, I just kind of assumed they were correct. So that's why I thought that going up through the Dark World was faster, but apparently I'm incorrect there. It's nice to know. I'll start using that. Oh, that was close.
Zero Rush going for bumper dash, misses the dash a little too high. Readjusts, misses the dash a little too low, so that loses, I believe 10 seconds, which is a decent amount.
Gets it there, no problem though, so we get to go fight our favorite troll worm. Alright, so while this is going on, Espeon and I both do know where the big key for Ganon's Tower is, so we're not going to be putting forth any speculation, but you guys are free to. Don't enter a number in chat, as the racers will be skipping a bunch of chests that they won't need. But feel free to put in a location, and if you're going to put in a room, put which chest it is. Good luck.
But you should do it quickly, because Zero Rush is about to enter GT.
Yep, that's why I mentioned it when he walked into the room, because, well, there's not a whole lot of time at this point.
Alright, we got a bunch of guesses, like Rando Room, Firebar, Torch, Right Side, Vanilla, Tile Room,
Well, Tile Room's not actually terrible in Spoiler Log, because you know it's there. So
That's
you
true.
really just need a key to get over there, and then just play dodge the everything for a good 30 seconds.
I mean, or you could just sit in the door or something.
That is fair. The easy way to avoid it, though, has been taken away from us since we don't have the cape.
Zero Rush accidentally opening an unnecessary chest. And OneUp is going to get the bumper dash, so that is some time saved. Hey, look. Now you're all happy, right? Because we got a tile room we got a tile room Ganon's Tower big key, right? That makes chat happy, right?
And shout out to Zero Wag, who I'm fairly certain is the only person to guess Tile Room. So kudos, you little trolley jerk.
Is Zero Wag secretly Zero Rush's alt?
I mean, that would be pretty impressive. I guess he could have done it during the crystal animation scene. So yeah, that's possible. Zero Rush, we're on to you. Alright, so OneUp basically just this first portion behind. We'll see if Zero Rush gives him an opportunity to catch up. Certainly having some fun in this room.
Yeah, this room is pretty rough if you don't have enough health or are not willing to take the damage boost through the spikes. Because it is 3 hearts of damage to do the optimal strat, which I'm sure Zero Rush is much more familiar with, as opposed to the low percent strat that you use in categories where you don't have a lot of health, or in, for example, spoiler races, expert difficulty. So it is a little bit tougher than usual. And oneup is going to grab the fairy in Tile Room, actually, which is another helpful use of the bottle that he picked up from the Uncle Passage, and the bug net picked up from the Desert Ledge that Zero Rush skipped both of those, but that means oneup will essentially have an extra life going up the tower.
Yep, which is definitely something to keep in mind, especially as Zero Rush there had to go grab the safety room, so that's time that oneup probably won't spend.
Yeah, so after this point, it's just pure execution heading up Ganon's tower. oneup had a slightly earlier due to slightly better early game routing, not having to go back to the Kakariko area to pick up the lamp. And Zero Rush has had consistently slightly better execution, and that's how he was able to get this lead.
Zero Rush also had a much better routing in of the silver arrows, which were sitting on... Oh, he needs to be careful here. Okay, whew, that was close. He had a slightly better routing of the silver arrows, grabbing them before he did Lanmo, Armos, and Vitreous, so saving a bit of time on oneup there as well.
And oneup is also having some low life issues. Only a heart after going through the spike corridor, and now going to have to carefully traverse Ganon Ball Z, going to go straight up the gauntlet without getting the restock room. So runners in the Spoiler Log Tournament are actually allowed to look at the restream, to look at their opponent's streams, and even to listen to the commentary, so they can actually deduce information. And so oneup may know that he is behind, going to have to take some risks in order to catch up.
In addition, he does have that fairy that Zero Rush doesn't have, so I'm sure he sees it as it saved me some time. I don't know how long going into that room would take, but even with a fairy animation, it would probably come out to be about even. Oh, and
Yeah,
he's
probably
going to need it.
And oneup
Zero
is...
Rush somehow avoiding that spike. I'm not sure how he managed that, but he did manage it.
Oh, I missed the whole thing. I'm going to blame frame rules.
It seems like we're doing that a lot this game. Whoa, that was interesting.
That was a nice Moldorm fight. Very stylish. Using the hook shot for the invincibility, dashing through.
It was very snazzy.
But now Zero Rush is coming up on Agahnim 2. And I would really like for Agahnim 2's patterns to be documented in the spoiler log. That would be really nice. Actually, is there a rule against, like, EGing to Aga 2 and checking his patterns before the race starts?
Maybe not specifically, but now that you mentioned it, there probably will be.
Dang it. Looks like Agahnim is not giving some super nice patterns today. I believe this is a 4 cycle.
Yeah, with at least one blue ball in there, though I'm fairly certain there were 2.
I'm going to spam the hookshot at his dead corpse.
So since oneup didn't grab it, I'm actually kind of surprised that oneup killed that mini Helmasaur there, because in the right-hand side chest of that room there was a key. And grabbing another fairy, deciding to play it safe.
Well, it is faster to get the mini Helmasaur key than anything else.
He had a little difficulty with it. Oof! And Moldorm being a jerk.
And Ganon giving us some custom text. People say that he created it, but we should blame Synac's spoiler bot instead. And this was indeed quite a horrible seed. So the text for Ganon for blind on the other little jokes that you see during the randomizer are all custom now. Since we are running this on a forked version of the randomizer site, we can have these custom texts. And so Sinek implemented some rather amusing ones, such as that.
Yeah, there are definitely quite a few, and they're really, really amusing when the texts end up being appropriate. Like when you get a terrible seed like this, and Ganon's like, "Don't look at me, blame Sinek."
And those silver arrows going to be used one last time on phase 4.
Lining up at least a double here, maybe a triple. Yep, there we go.
Triple. And that's the pig down.
So get your GGs in chat for Zero Rush. He has to cross a terrible, perilous bridge, and once he has done so, he will have successfully completed it.
GG.
Alright, so to mention to everyone, just to keep in mind, there is not going to be an interview after this race because we are going to have another race right after this to determine who is going on to the round of 8. So strap yourselves in. Once OneUp finishes here, they're probably going to take a short intermission, and then they will start with their 15-minute spoiler log studying period, and then we will be right back with another race. So stick around. And Ganon giving us a perfect location for the second cycle.
Although Zero Rush did get the perfect double single cycle, where you only get one warp from Ganon for both first and second phases, which it does save a decent amount of time over even that, because you get it over with as quickly as possible, and move on to the part where Ganon wastes your time with warps.
That's fair, and then goes on to blame Sinek's bot for terrible seeds and asks you where the silver arrows are and all sorts of lovely, wonderful things. And a OneUp whizzing a silver arrow right by Ganon's ear there, so needs one more.
And OneUp will now be crossing into the Triforce room in just a few seconds.
Alright, so get your GGs in chat for him as well.
So the official SRL race times for this race were Zero Rush had a 1 hour and 54 minutes if you account for the 15-minute study time, and OneUp had 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 7 seconds, so only separated by about 2 minutes after such a close race.
Yeah, it was very much so, which was really cool to watch after the insane differences there. And just the horrible beginning routing in general, like having to beat Aga to get both of the gloves in the Dark World, and then Sahasrara having the hammer. That was just terrible. Flute on Catfish, hook shot on Lake Hylia Island. This was not an ideal seed for routing. And on Zero Rush's side, we see that there was absolutely nothing useful on Ped, which we already kind of knew, but, you know, a hard piece just kind of confirms it. Zora also have nothing, as we can see on OneUp side. Little love for sale there. All right, so Espion, did you have any last thoughts about this wonderful, wonderful seed that our runners were graced with?
I would not say grace, but I would just like to say the location of some of the items that we did not see. So, for example, I will look up the locations of the armor upgrades, since we can now freely share this information.
There was
So,
actually one behind Ice Armos. That's terrible.
yeah. So one of the armor upgrades was behind ice armors, which no one would really go for. That's just so out of the way. The other armor upgrade was actually in Mini Moldorm Cave. So if one of the runners wanted to go for it, that would have been a little bit out of the way. But blue mail is a very potent safety, so it would not have been an unreasonable decision. So, neither runner went for any armor upgrades at all. In addition, we can also talk about the location of the last sword, which was actually in Tower of Hera Big Chest. So both of the runners could have gotten it very quickly on the way up Tower of Hera at the end of the game, and neither chose to do so, which is understandable because Tempered Sword is pretty much all that you need. Gold Sword really doesn't save very much time. Although, if you don't do 1-1 Ganon, if you don't do the perfect cycle Ganon, then Gold Sword does save a little bit of time in Phase 1, since you can just slash 6 times, instead of doing the double spin.
Yeah, Gold Sword doesn't particularly save any time with any real certainty, but it is a really nice insurance policy for Ganon, because with the Gold Sword, you're basically guaranteed a 1-1 unless you do something terrible.
Yeah, so this was just a lovely seed. Got Agahnim required, and then the gloves in awful spots. Just, oof. I would not have wanted to run this myself.
Yeah, no, this is definitely something that I'm glad I got to watch rather than run. Especially because I don't do spoiler log seeds, so I would have had to run it blind, and that would have just been terrible.
Oh god, this is just a garbage seed to run blind. But hey, you're gonna get to watch the next one too, aren't you?
Well, I'll be here. I'll be here calling it. So yeah, I will get to watch it. Also, with that in mind, our tracker for this race was Dimensive. So shout out to him, as he's not only pushing the buttons, but he's pushing them really fast because, well, spoiler log key items happen much quicker than they do in blind rando. And a shout out to my co-com Espion, who did a great job with this seed. I had a blast common with him, and hopefully I'll get the chance to do so again shortly.
Thank you. You were great to calm with as well. So we are coming up on the end credits. We're going to get to the ending screen shortly. Then we will give our runners a little bit of a break before we start the next one, as well as the study time. So we will see you all again in about 15 to 20 minutes.
Yep, definitely stick around. Go grab yourself a bite of food or quick bathroom break, which you need to, and strap yourselves in, because hopefully this next race is going to be just as fun as the first one was, although maybe a little less trolly, because this first seed was kind of terrible.